Hello, my name is Sally Pinto, and I'm the Program Director for the Yonkers Newark Neighborhood Naturally Occurring Retirement Community. We serve seniors 60 plus in Northeast Yonkers. We are under the auspices of WJCS and the Yonkers Office for the Aging. We also have a resource specialist and a nurse on staff. We conduct virtual programming in partnership with the Yonkers Public Library on a daily basis. Enjoy the program.
Thanks. All right. So as you said, we'll move a little bit. We'll mostly focus on holding posture. So if you're new to yin yoga or new to this class, it's going to be slower and a little bit more introspective than some other yoga classes. So you can set yourself up. I always recommend a blanket if you get cold. You can use a pillow. I always use like a couch pillow. For support, you can have one or two. If you have yoga props, you're welcome to have them near you. I'll always offer modifications for it. I'm gonna do most of the class with you. I just don't have my mat down today. I adopted a puppy and I don't want her to eat it. And she has been here for 24 hours. So she's passed out right now, which is perfect for class. So we are going to begin on our backs today. And so what I always say is that our goal in whatever position we find is to kind of find the Goldilocks spot, right? So we don't want to go too deep, but we also don't want to feel like absolutely nothing. So you want to try to find that sweet spot in the middle and then really just allow gravity to do its job. So you can start laying on your back with your feet on the floor and the knees pointing up to the sky. You are welcome to close your eyes or just soften through your gaze. You can bring your hands wherever is comfortable, whether that be resting on your belly or by your side. And when we first arrive, if you need to wiggle around a little bit, move around, that's a perfect place to start. And as you begin to do that, just starting to check in. Just start to notice your breath and your body. So perhaps not even just observing the sensations and the sounds in your body, but also noticing any sounds going on around you. So whether that's somewhere in your home or outside your window or your door, begin to observe those sounds and invite those sounds to be a part of your practice today. So instead of trying to tune out the outside world, inviting it into this space. And sometimes that inviting in can kind of help us actually tune it out a little bit. Allowing the distractions to just be a part of our area so that we react less And just starting to feel the breath. Let's just find 2 more rounds of breath here. And begin to walk the soles of the feet together and allow the knees to drop wide. So think butterfly legs. And you are welcome to add some props underneath the legs. You can use a pillow as like a block to just fill the space. And as you settle into this new position, again, just taking a moment to check in with your body and your breath. As the weather starts to get a little cooler, it's normal for us to feel a little bit tighter in our bodies, or for us to feel tighter a little bit quicker than we might in the heat. So just inviting that acceptance that it might feel a little different today than it did last week and the week before that and before that. Bringing the focus to your breath. Part of the reason why we hold the poses a little bit longer in yin practice is that it can take a couple of minutes for our bodies to actually stop trying, to stop holding us into a position. As we hold it a little bit longer, it can get a little bit easier to let go. If at any point as we're holding postures, you feel your mind get distracted or focused on something else, invite acceptance into that being a normal thing, and also trying not to just turn off the thought. Really kind of let the thought finish, and then find a natural point where maybe you can let it pause, put it on the back burner, and bring yourself back to your breath. Inviting 2 more rounds of breath here in our full butterfly. Keeping your left leg as a butterfly. And just slowly start to point your right knee up to the sky so that the foot is on the floor. If you feel your hips starting to shift to the left, because there's a little bit more weight on the left with the knee out to the side, that's fine. You can let that happen. Allowing your body to come to a place where it can continue to breathe, where you can slowly start to let go and release a little bit. Just a few more rounds of breath here. The last one. So the way we'll transition is letting that right knee drop over back to that butterfly position. Let's pause. And you may even notice a little shift in the sides. And as mindfully and intentionally as possible, keeping the right leg as is and let your left knee point up to the sky. The sensations from side to side may feel a little different. If you find yourself continuing to get distracted, whether that's with your mind or with a sensation, come back to that thought of bringing the noises around you into your practice today. Maybe it's the wind blowing. Maybe it's a fan. Maybe picking one of those sounds and trying to keep your attention on that sound. So still allowing yourself to breathe and focus on the breath, but just bringing your attention elsewhere, outside of your body. Just a little while longer on this side. Taking your final breath here. So in this transition, when you are ready, you'll just start to bring your right foot back onto the floor. So the knee can point up to the sky. I will give you the option here to lengthen your legs down your mat, just gently releasing the hip flexors. Actually, let's all do that. Let's all extend our legs out. You're not necessarily trying to like pull the leg, but you're just taking the hip flexors out of that flexion so they can find their way back to neutral. Find just one more breath here. You may still be focusing on that sound outside your space, outside your body. And slowly start to bring the feet back onto the floor. And start to cross your right ankle on top of your left knee. So you can always adjust where that left foot is. If it's really close to the body, maybe it needs to go a little bit further away from the body so the foot can comfortably rest. You find your Goldilocks. And let's just add a little rock of the hips from side to side. Just a soft massage of the lower spine. You can keep that left foot on the floor and just let that rock go over to the right. I'm not coming into a full twist, but I am kind of just shifting the weight a little bit to the right. Yes, I know. Uh-oh. Maybe finding a new sound outside your space, outside your body to focus on. And perhaps as we stay here a little bit longer, that figure 4 starts to shift a little bit more over to the left. So the left foot will always stay on the floor. And you can always have a pillow or a blanket underneath the left hip. I've got that. And it's helpful. Sometimes the moves that we take in a yin class are small and subtle. And sometimes they're a little bit bigger, like our butterfly can be seen as a little bit bigger. This one may or may not be a little bit more subtle. Last few moments here, and maybe you just let it go a little bit further one last time. It doesn't matter where that right knee is, if it starts to come in or go out. Trying not to let the right hip lift up too much because I don't want you to roll onto the side. The last breath here. And with a little bit of engagement, let's bring that all the way back to the middle. Keep the right ankle crossed over the left knee, and then just let that shift go a little bit to the right. So we're still on the right side, but instead of letting that little shift to the left, we're going to take it to the other side. Stay. You can keep that focus on whatever outside sound you're focusing on. Maybe letting that weight shift a little bit more to the right. Again, the left foot is going to continue to stay on the floor. Let's take one more round of breath here. And slowly come all the way back to the middle. Then nice and slow, uncross the right leg from the left. And switch sides. So cross your left ankle on top of your right knee. And again, you can always adjust where that right foot is. Let that figure 4 rock a little bit. And then as it comes towards the right, you can let it pause. So it doesn't matter how far it goes. It can go a centimeter, it can go a couple of inches. You're just kind of letting that weight of the knee and the left foot just shift a little bit to the right. This is a little bit more subtle. But it also might feel like a lot. So just check in with yourself. Find your Goldilocks. You're welcome to find a different noise, a different sound. If you're able to keep the focus on the sound that you've been focused on, you're welcome to stick with it. If you notice your mind starting to drift away from your focus, find something new. And that might even mean spending a little bit of time just naming in your head what you hear. Or it could even be a sensation that you feel. Couple more breaths on this side. Last one here. And start to bring that back to the middle. And we'll again keep the left ankle crossed and just let the legs shift a little bit to the left. So now we haven't been on the left side in a couple of rounds. So just being really mindful and kind as you come into it. You can always change the position of the arms. So if you feel yourself starting to get a little antsy, because we have been in the same spot for a while, know that you can change the position of the arms. You can always change the position of the head. You can always focus on a different sound. Almost there. So maybe for these last couple of breaths, you let it shift a little bit more to the left. I'm not trying to bring any comparison to what happened on side to side or direction to direction. Wherever you are, wherever your Goldilocks is perfect. Last breath. Come all the way back to the middle. Uncross your legs. Let's extend the legs long. Just releasing again your hip flexor. Taking a couple of deep breaths here. And this will likely be the hardest part of class, but I'd like you to roll on to one side and pause there. And press yourself all the way up to sit. Now, as always, you can sit on a blanket or a bolster or a pillow. But the first couple of moments you're here, I really do invite you to kind of just like move around, kind of do whatever you need. We were on our back for quite some time. So it might be kind of like rocking the legs a little bit. It might be just sitting. And we'll eventually meet with your feet on the floor. So think like windshield wiper. You can have your hands behind your back for support. And just start to windshield wiper the legs. So think that your feet want to be kind of wide. So probably think wider than your mat. And eventually the knees are going to come all the way to the right, but in order for them to come to the ground, you're going to need to push off your hands so you can let the knees come to the ground. So definitely have your pillows or blankets for support, but you're thinking we're in like a 90-90 sit. So I've got my front knee and I'm really leaning on my right hip. My left hip is completely off the floor. I've got my right leg down and then my knee's at a 90-degree angle. And then my back leg, the inside of the leg is down, but my knee is also at a 90-degree angle. Now, if your left hip is really up in the air and you feel like you can't press it down, first option is to honestly use your right hand for support and stay here if this is enough. Or you can kind of adjust yourself and come to sit on a pillow if you're not already. Something a little higher is what I would recommend. And if you're here and you're just not really feeling it today, try to keep your right leg as it is, but then just very carefully let your left leg come out straight. So my left leg is just gonna come out straight from my hip. I wanna feel like I'm trying to turn a little bit towards the right. And we're actually gonna just keep the spine up nice and tall today. So this is a really great option with the left leg straight, and I am doing it if you're not sure what I mean. If you just feel like you're putting so much weight into that right side that your hand hurts or you just can't find it, this is a perfect place to be. As I'm just sitting down, my left leg is out, and I just bent my right knee, so it's at a 90-degree angle. And it's okay if it's lifted a little bit. I might even think about sliding a pillow for support. So I'm just thinking about growing my spine really tall. I'm maybe focusing on my breath, or I'm finding a new sound. Maybe I noticed new sounds as I'm in a new perspective on the mat now. Continuing to bring yourself back to that point of focus. Finding your final 2 rounds of breath here. Starting to bring the tiniest bit of awareness back in. If your left leg is straight out, the way I'd like you to come into the second side is to extend your right leg out. And then right away, bend your left leg. So you're not bringing the foot all the way in like we do most of the time. Think that you're trying to keep that knee at a 90-degree angle, but you're still trying to start with a little bit of a wider stance. So if you had the leg straight, that's where I'd like you to go. If you had both legs at the 90-degree angle, you'll bring your hands back behind you, let the knees come up to the sky, and then rotate yourself over to the other side. So again, we're trying to notice a 90-degree angle-ish at the knee. So again, you can always sit on a pillow or a blanket. You might come into it and realize how different your sides are. Mine are completely different. So you might stay here. If this side is feeling much more challenging than the first side, you know you always have the option to straighten the right leg out. Adding all of the support that you might need. Using your breath. You can continue to keep that focus on what you might have been focusing on the other side. You might switch it. If you feel like you're running out of sounds or the sound you were trying to listen to is now gone, you can always bring yourself back to your breath. Maybe you try to sense your heartbeat. So instead of sensing the sensation of the breath, you actually try to bring the awareness to the heart. Or maybe you're just creating imagery around the lungs inflating and deflating. Changing what we focus on can help us stay potentially a little bit longer, but it also keeps our mind sharp, trying to bring our awareness to something else, something we may not bring attention to on a regular basis. Just a little while longer here. If you notice at any point your capacity to focus on that thing has run out or is running low, keep the attention up by just picking something new. Final 2 rounds of breath here. So again, actually, let's all just start to come out of it. Bring your hands behind you and just come to a place where you can lengthen the legs out in front of you. So as you move the legs, trying to always keep the knees and the toes in the same direction. That's going to help you protect your knees. And I'll give you an option here. So we've really been kind of lengthening and being in a really neutral spine for a long time. So let's find a little bit in either direction. So you can do whatever you want with your legs. They can be straight out in front of you. You can cross them. Just bring your hands behind you so they're resting on the floor, and feel like you're trying to squeeze your shoulder blades together and lift the head up. It doesn't have to be a lot. Just think of like you're trying to expand the chest. Think of it as like a cow pose, but we're just seated. And then really nice and slow, start to bring your head back up. Pause in neutral. And then slowly find the opposite. So your hands can be on your legs or out in front of you. Just nice and slow, let your chin drop to your chest. Round the spine. And then slowly bring yourself back up, always being really mindful, especially since we've been moving so slow. You don't want to rush any of that head movement. And we'll start to come back onto our backs. And we are going to stay on our backs. We'll do one move before we move into our final Shavasana. But just start to hug your knees into your chest. So you can wrap them all the way in. You can hold the tops of the knees, or you can even just kind of hold your pants a little bit and let your elbows rest on the floor. This is the last time we're going to keep the hips in hip flexion here. Let's start to release those hip flexors and extend the legs out. You can even reach your arms up overhead and take a full body stretch all the way from the fingers to the toes, like you just woke up. And allowing your body to come in to your final Shavasana. So adding whatever support you need. You can slide something underneath the legs. They always invite you to find another position, but I recommend today, if you can, trying to find something where your hip flexors are going to stay a little bit more in this neutral position, just because we've really been kind of hugging them in tight and really constricting that today. So just letting the last few moments of class, giving them an opportunity to breathe. But of course, listen to your body. If you need to bring those legs, those hips into flexion, don't feel like you can't or that you shouldn't. Letting your body completely melt into the mat. And complete and total gratitude for your practice today. Shavasana. Beginning to bring some awareness back into this space. Bringing some awareness back into the body. Inviting small movements back in. In your own time, in your own way, starting to bring yourself into a comfortable seat. You can keep the focus inside. Starting to bring your hands to your heart center, gently bowing your head, bringing all your awareness back to the body, and thanking yourself for making it to your mat today. Namaste.
Hi, everyone. This is Z from Yonkers Public Library. Thanks so much to Sally Pinto and Alexis and Barbara from Newark. Thank you to our community partners, WJCS, the City of Yonkers Office for the Aging, Westchester County Legislator Ruth Walter, Friends of Crestwood Library, and Yonkers Public Library for making this phenomenal partnership. And we thank each and every one of you for being part of our wellness community. Be well, stay well.